Good afternoon and welcome to another Oblivion Plays live stream, where today we are flying from Dusseldorf to Cardiff in the FlyJSim 727, and this is the 727-300 Freight Edition. We're not using SimBuddy today, we're just going to be using, well, we're not going to be using anything at all, we're just going to be doing a routine flight, carrying virtual cargo that PFPX has calculated. So I've only flown the FlyJSim 77 a few times, but I'll try and do everything correctly for you guys, just so you know, for those of you trying to learn how to fly it, you can kind of pick up how you fly, because it's a little bit more complex than your typical airline, a modern day airline, in which basically everything's done electronically for you, because as many of you know, the 727 actually had an engineer's seat with an engineer's panel, so a little bit more complex, but makes it a little bit more fun to fly. So yeah, I hope you guys like it. Okay, so first things first, let's get the airplane panel up, and we'll get the weights correct. So today our zero fuel weight is going to be 63271 kilograms. That's what we're doing at the moment. A little bit more. So let's kind of just try and put it in equally. Take a bit in the cargo hold. Oops. We'll ignore the max landing because we haven't done our fuel yet. 6.3. So we want another 200 kilos. We'll go for that. That's probably the nearest that we're going to get. And then fuel today, it's not too long a flight. It's only about an hour and 15 minutes. So we'll go for, what's the fuel weight? 8.945 tons. So where's our total fuels here? So let's bring that down. 9,088. We'll go for 9,000. I'm wondering if it doesn't know how far we're actually going just yet. So we will ignore that, because PFPX does take things like that into consideration, so that should be fine. Because the plan is actually for 66.9 tons, so significantly less than that, because obviously we're going to burn off a lot of fuel as we get a bit closer. So that's that done. What we'll do now is get the GPU connected. So that's on the options panel, bottom left. It's really loud, so what we might just do is just take the volume down a little bit. And then you head over to the engineers panel, and the little lights kind of help you determine where you need to be looking, so flip that over to on, and then get the essential power over to external power, and then that's basically generating all our powering all our systems. Just let that turn on. Hopefully the FMC will turn on with that. Don't know if you have to. I'm sure it normally turns on by itself. Just go through the checklist. Checklist is the bottom button. No, why? It's because we haven't done turned the battery on. So battery is hidden up here, and then we close that off, and then there we go. Turns on the FMC. Okay, so just check the status. Everything's looking nice and up to date on the database. So we'll go on to the route menu then. So Echo Delta Lima is the code for Dusseldorf, and then we're going to Cardiff, which is Echo Golf Foxtrot. We'll just put in a holder flight number, because we're not actually using one. Oops. And we're not using a company route, so we will clear that. We might not actually be able to clear it until we put a departure in. 1 sec. So departure today is runway 23 right, which I've checked. That's the current active at Dusseldorf, and it's the Modder 1 hotel. Flight buttons doesn't seem to work there. Not to worry. Yep. So now we can delete these. And then we're going Zulu 717 to Gobino. Excuse me. You can, so I just explain. So you can use the default explain FMC for the 77. Or you can use the inertial guidance system that came with the original 77, which I have bought. So it's an additional add-on that you have to pay for. So it's a bit more kind of authentic if you're going back to the golden age of flights and stuff. But I haven't learned how to use it just yet. It's something that I'm planning on doing. But the modern 77s were retrofitted with FMCs anyway, so I don't think this is the actual one that they use, but obviously it's the X-Plane version, so I don't know how close it is to the actual FMC. I'm assuming it's probably closer to the Boeing FMCs that the 737 etc. use. So UZ717 to mass, then UM617. To Sogri. The 77. This 77 doesn't have a VNav or autopilot, so it's all done manually. So direct to Dennett next, and then UL610, which is a well-trodden path for me. I've used that airway quite a lot. To Rapix. Next page, L610 to Koppel. And then Q63 to CAT CPT. And then that's the start of the star at Cardiff. So our arrival is the CDF-1 Charlie into runway 30. What did I say? CDF-1 Charlie. This might be the... There we go. So we'll delete this discontinuity. Execute that, and we'll go onto the legs page just to make sure everything's okay. Yep, that's looking fine. And I think that's it basically for the FMC, because like I said, there's not a huge amount you can really do. I'll just put cruise altitude in, which is 340. Like I said, it doesn't massively matter because we're not using a VNav. Transition altitude at Dusseldorf. Let's have a look. Oh, why is it not giving me the charts? Did I close my charts application by accident? I did. 1 sec. wonder if that's the problem. Didn't realise it needed this. If it is this, this is the problem. Let me just close that down. Oh, no, it's still not working. Strange. Must have done something. Let's see if... For some reason it's... did it say something about, yeah, I need to redo it every 30 days? Maybe that's the reason why. Waiting for it to load, and then we can get our charts in Avitab. There we go. Yay! Excellent. Yeah, there we go. Right, okay. We're back in. So transition altitude is 5,000. Okay, so that'll do. So we can now work through the rest of the checklists. So yeah, so that's battery on, APU, we're on ground power, store warning check now. This is ridiculously loud, so turn your volume down if you've got a high volume up. So store's fine. Emergency lights to armed and cover closed. Passenger signs on, doesn't matter because we're cargo today, but still a requirement. I'll just get the camera back a little bit so you can see a bit better what I'm doing. So window heat's on the top right of the overhead panel. So all four switches need to go to on. Radio radar transponder is set, so we don't need to do anything for that today. And parking brake set. What we'd also do is just put in our cruise altitude, which like I said was 340. So quite a basic autopilot system on the 727. So you've got this flight director, which we'll put in heading mode for now. You can't actually go onto the nav selector until we can do it down here, and again you can't do that until you're flying. So basically it's hand flying on the heading select initially with the vertical speed if you want it. I basically just leave it as it is. Altitude hold you can select, which basically means you'll level off when, I believe. Might be wrong on that one. I need to basically test it out when we're flying again to remember. You basically need to, or is it, do you actually have to click this button down here? It might be you click that button. I think altitude hold literally just holds your altitude. So yeah, so we'll figure that out when we've taken off. I'll show you how that works. It's very, very basic, like I said. To get to running off your FMC, you go to Orbx nav, and that basically uses your FMC as the nav input. And then, like I said, there's no auto throttle or VNav, so once you've taken off, you use the IAS hold to control your speed and climb, and then you basically use this orange bug to adjust that. So we'll leave it at 250 for now. And then we'll adjust that accordingly. So leave that's everything set up that we need to. We'll just set the heading bug just for the flight director. So let's get the heading for 23 right. We'll need the airport page up anyway. Oops, wrong one. That one. So 23 right, so it's 232. We're actually almost on there, so let me just read this. 2, 1, 2, 3. So pretty much where that GS line is. And that's do our V speeds, so that's using this little kind of like speedometer icon. So click the set bugs. Actually, we'll just go to flaps 5 set bugs. Long runway here. And then if we go to... Oh, wrong one. That one, sorry. We can set our takeoff stabilizer trim, which is 7.2. So we'll go for that. And I think that's it. I did press the set bugs button, didn't I? Yep, so 142, 142 for VR. That doesn't look quite right. Oh, it's gone for the flap retraction speeds. Is that bug there? We get a readout anyway of the V speeds. The co-pilot does that for us. I was wondering if it's on his side. No, I don't know. Strange. Anyway, and then we'll set the altimeter, and then we're pretty much good to go. Oh, it's on the wrong setting. Let me just see if I can change that over. Oh no, it's at the top. Sorry, yeah. So the Q and H is at the top, and then the kind of the inches of motor Curie are down there. So we'll just get the latest ATIS for Dusseldorf, which is 1020. Excellent. And let's work through the checklist now. So we're pretty much good to go. So just close the takeoff page. Another thing, so I've downloaded this little plugin. It's called the Cheap Descent Calculator. You can get it at the the xplane.org downloads page. Basically, it just helps you. You can calculate it manually, but it just helps calculate your top of descent essentially. Just using a basic formula. It means you don't have to do like the mental arithmetic or use a calculator. You just literally put in your target altitude, which is basically your final altitude as you're intercepting the ILS, and then it just tells you how far away you need to be from that point to descend, and also you can adjust your rate of descent as well using the angle. 3 degrees is pretty reasonable, so we'll just leave that as that is, and then we'll adjust that as we're getting close to our descent point. So we've done the still warning check, we've done the emergency lights, passenger signs are on, window heat's on, radio, radar, and transponders are set, parking brake is set. So time to put the APU on. Oh, we did forget to put the navigation light on, so we'll do that now. And let's get this APU on. So 1, 2, 3. Now that takes a little while to start up. Whilst that's starting up, we'll put the fuel pumps on. So we'll just let it settle, and then we'll connect over onto the auxiliary power unit, get rid of the GPU. So the packs are off, which is fine. I mean, if we had a longer wait, then we'd turn them on, obviously get the aircon working, but we'll basically be starting the engines very shortly anyway, so we'll leave that off. So that's the APU on and stabilised. So we switched over power to the APU. We'll just switch the central power over to the APU as well. Get rid of the ground power unit. And then we'll switch over to the engine start checklist. So we'll switch on the beacon. Galley power is off, and the packs are off, like I've already said. And bleed PSI, we're getting well over 30 PSI. And the engine valves are open, so let's get our pushback truck.
On to cockpit, toes driving up.
Here he comes, driving over the grass. Decided he's a lawnmower today as well as a pushback truck. Here he comes.
Okay, all doors and hatches are closed, ready to connect. Set parking brake.
Just trying to find out what the... I've not actually looked up what the start sequence is for the engines. Assuming it's like the MD-11, you do the kind of outboard engines first and then start the middle engine, but we'll go 1, 3, 2. Sounds reasonable.
Tow connected and bypass pin inserted. Release parking brake.
So, parking brace released.
Starting pushback, and you may start the engines.
Back to the overhead panel, and so your engine start switches are up here. So we'll go 1 first, you flick it down to the ground position, and then you watch the N2, which is here, and wait till it goes to 20%, and then introduce fuel. Looking at these lights. So light 1 is off, so we can now start engine number 3. Close the guard. Another good start, so it's engine number 2.
Operation complete. Please set parking brake. Disconnecting tow. Stand by.
Looks like another good start. Excellent. So let's go flats 5. That's flats 5 set and indicating. We don't need the anti-ice today. We're absolutely fine. So pitot heats underneath these kind of orange panels. We'll turn them on. And then we'll switch the galley power on. Essential power to Gen 1.
And bypass pin has been removed. Hand signal on the left. I'll see you next time. Have a safe flight.
Switch over to the engine generators. Turn on the hydraulic system. Basically, you're trying to make sure that none of the lights are on the engineer's panel. Turn the packs on. Turn off the APU. Auto pack trip to cut off, and then we'll set our that's over here, isn't it? Yeah, sorry. Our cruise altitude 34, landing altitude is 220. Make sure it's in the auto position for the pressurization. And then we'll just... have I closed the checklist by accident? And then we'll make sure we're going through all the checks. Anti-ice isn't required. PT heats are on. Flight instruments are set for departure. Flight controls check. Full right, full left, full right, full forward, full backwards. Rudder, full left, full right. Excellent. Stabilizer trims set for takeoff. Speed brake is down. And... stabilizer trim is set off for takeoff, flaps set for takeoff, galley power's on, electrical lights, no lights are on at all. Fuel heat's off, hydraulic pressure's we've switched on and is fine, APU's off, pressures are set for a cruise altitude, flight ground switch, we can switch to flight. Oops. Oh, every time. Number 2 blue now close. And EPR and airspeed bugs are set. And auto brakes to reject to take off as well. So we'll put on our taxi light and then we're good to taxi to the runway. Our guy's already gone. We missed his indication, doesn't matter. So quite heavy today. I'll just show you the airport map. So Avi tab nicely gives you a little red indication of where your aircraft is. So basically we're taxiing to the end of this this stand and then going up to 23 right that way. I'll just close it because it's blocking quite a lot of the this available screen. I don't think this aircraft actually has a ground speed indicator. Just got to do it kind of by eye. Streaming, so I've always streamed in 1080p, but I've had a native resolution of 4K on my FlyJSim, but I've switched over to 1080p because I didn't see the point in running the simulator in 4K if you're only seeing 1080p anyway. So basically I thought I'd basically improve my performance to give you guys a smoother stream, but I don't know whether you are noticing a little difference on how kind of sharp everything is. So do give me some feedback if it is significantly worse. It's kind of offsetting basically the higher frame rate versus perhaps some slight visual fidelity. Taxiing up that way to the end of 23 left, and then we'll cross 23 left and line up on 23 right. Dusseldorf is surprisingly quiet this morning. I'm using world traffic for traffic generation, but I think I can only see one aircraft actually at Dusseldorf this morning. Obviously, I don't think that's particularly realistic, but hopefully we'll get a bit busy as we head over to Cardiff. So we're approaching 23 left. What we do is we'll put the strobes on and the transponder as well over to TA. I don't think it has a TARA. Looks clear, so we'll cross over. We'll start working through the cleared for takeoff checklist. So start switches are guarded, transponders on, out. Landing lights will turn on when we get onto the runway. We've already checked that the auto pack trip switch is on normal cutout, and the rest will do when we have taken off. Slow down a little bit so we take this curve. take a right turn. Just use the maximum runway. Why not? We're in an old bird. You never know what might happen. Okay, so landing lights on. Just get our takeoff info. So we're setting to 2.15 EPR or 97.4% N1 as our takeoff settings. Okay, so looking good. So like I said, no auto throttle, so we've got to set this manually, so we'll just we'll set our thrust before we release the brakes. So we'll go up to about 40-50%. That's looking nice and synchronous, and then we'll go up to 2.15. 2.15 is the numbers indicated in the middle, the pressure ratio. Normally, if you're flying, with an engineer, the engineer will be setting the thrust, so the pilot flying will set a rough idea, release the brakes, and then the engineer will do the fine tweaks. Sorry. And then we'll announce thrust set, which we have. So, brakes released. Let's get going. Just some fine adjustments as we accelerate.
Knots. E1, rotate.
Gear up. Okay, excellent. So we'll switch over. I don't think we have to engage the auto throttle, so the autopilot is what we'll do. That's the outer marker. We'll put on the auto throttle, go to auxiliary, we'll go IAS hold, and we'll go to nav lock on the flight director. Just keep pulling up on the yoke, just because otherwise we'll nose down to try and maintain that speed. We'll go flaps up to 2, and then the final indicator is to go up to complete flaps up. There we go. Landing gear off. And there's the outer marker. I can't remember what the orange one is. So we just adjust our trim, and we'll go through the after takeoff checklist. So seatbelts will keep on, anti-ice as is, gear is up and off, flaps are up and no lights. Auto pack trip is already on cut-off. Hydraulic pressure is good. And we'll go back to climb N1, which is 92%. Break through the clouds, and that's it. So we'll carry on up. So let me just clarify with this altitude select. I think you actually press the button. Yeah. So you click the alt select button, and then that will arm it. You don't press. Sorry, I confused you earlier. You don't press the altitude hold button. click the alt select button. That will arm it for when we get to altitude of 340. And when we get to a flight level of approximately 280, we'll switch the speed IAS to Mach hold, which is the next kind of indicator on the pitch selector. And we'll maintain Mach of about 0.74. Vertical speed, so we'll just do this slowly. Seatbelt signs can go off now, and the landing lights off as well. So you can just go up by about 10 knots at a time. Those dirty engines. So that's us about 280 knots on the IAS hold, so we'll keep on going up. Heavy today, so it'll be a slow climb up. It is quite disconcerting using an FMC or an FMS without a map display on your flight indicators. But you just got to trust in it and hope it works. Everything's looking good, no light indicators. So what we'll do when we're a little bit closer is we'll basically work back from our ILS intercept point and then add up all the distances to work out our top of descent and let the calculator do the rest. So just looking at, just having a little read about the cruising speeds for 727. So they originally were Mach 0.84, which is pretty speedy, same as the 747 Classic and the TriStar. But since then they've actually slowed that cruise speed down. It's more like 0.8 or 0.78. We'll go fast. We're not paying for fuel, so we'll go well, they said 0.835 actually. Is the econ cruise. So we'll go roughly around there. 0.83, sorry. So I think the 7.78 must have just been the climb Mach rather than the actual cruising speed. So give it a couple more thousand feet and then we'll start switching. Well, we'll switch over to the Mach and then we'll just start increasing that up. So we're getting to flight level 290. So what we'll do is we'll switch over to Mach hold. Just bring that up slower, like I said, so we don't well, we are starting to descend slightly, but that should go back up again. And we'll just slowly increase that up as we start to accelerate again. So that's Mach 0.76, we'll go up to 0.78 and then we'll just let it carry on climbing. And that's 0.78, so we'll let that settle out and we'll carry on climbing up. We didn't set to standard, so we'll just do that now. So we'll put our target altitude into the calculator and then we can start working out when we need to be descending. We'll close off our Dusseldorf and put in Foxtrot. The Cardiff winds are relatively light, pretty much straight down the runway, slight left to right on the wind. Temperature 17 degrees C, not too bad. A little bit overcast. QNH of 1023. Go over to the charts. And approach. It was ILS Zulu, I think we were landing on. Yankee, sorry. So coming in from the Severn Estuary, course of 298, put in the ILS frequency into standby. It's 110.7. So I don't think we can adjust the course until we're in a heading select mode. So I think it's that one there, but because we're in like an auto nav mode, it's selected it for us. Not to worry. So final altitude is 1600 feet. We'll put 1500 feet, and then we're being a little bit more conservative, aren't we? So 101 nautical miles. So that's from... Let me just have a look at the map. Look at the charts. So rather than going to Cardiff, what we'll do is we'll go straight to CF30Y. Execute that. Just skip us out having to do like a backtrack teardrop pattern. CDF1C. So look at that. Yeah, so that basically means we'll go from Bristol, which is just there, obviously over Blackport, LS track. Makes a bit more sense. So let's work that one back. So 18, 20, 50 nautical miles. $74.60. 74. So 26 nautical. When that's indicating 26 nautical miles to CPT, that's when we'll need to start top of descent. Assuming this doesn't change, this might change a little bit. So the one to look out for is when we're up to the CPT waypoint or leg. And that's us at 340. So we'll accelerate up to what did we say? 835, 0.835. So that's 0.8. It's 0.2. That's 0.4. So we'll go indicate that's our target speed. There. Just a little bit beyond 0.83. So we can keep on accelerating up until that point, and then we'll just adjust the throttles accordingly. So another feature I'd just like to show you is the 727 actually has a maintenance system or simulation. So basically, it simulates any damage that you've done to your aircraft, and also the time on the engines and their condition. And then basically you can repair them if they're damaged, or I don't know what happens, when they reach their maximum number of hours, whether you then have to do like some repairs, but it just basically simulates wear and tear and maintenance on the 727. Just gives you a bit of incentive to look after the airframe and the engines. Okay, so we're not getting too far from the top of descent now, so let me just work that back out again. So it was 18 nautical miles to the first point on our ILS. That makes up to 50, 74. 26 to 100, and then 28 for 102 nautical miles from top of descent. So we'll wait till that figure hits 28, and then we'll work our way down. We'll just change our altitude to, I think it was 1600, wasn't it? $1,600. What I might do, if I remember, is just put the link for the cheap descent calculator into the description so you guys can download it if you're using the 727, because it is really handy. We'll go over to minimum auto brakes for Cardiff. Pretty long runway. So Cardiff used to be I think it might even still be the British Airways maintenance hub. It was basically a dedicated hub for the 747. I think they're now switching over to doing the 777 now as well, as they're retiring the 747. So yeah, really long runway, can take really large aircraft. And we'll start our descent now. So just bring back the throttles, and just slowly start to increase that rate of descent. So about 2,300 feet per minute. Annoyingly, it doesn't actually indicate anywhere what your setting is. You've got to kind of do it manually. But also just make sure we've clicked that out sail button so that it will stop our descent when we get there. So that's approximately 2.3 there. Hard to tell because it's gone to increments of 500 feet. That looks about right. It keeps you kind of updated with how you're doing. We're starting to accelerate, so we'll just bring back those throttles. Let's just get our checklist up. So seatbelt switches we won't put on, anti-ice isn't required, landing lights will do at 10,000 feet, altimeters will set when we're approaching the transition, which at Cardiff is 6,000 feet. Radio altimeters, oh, I shouldn't have got rid of that. So our decision altitude, or decision height rather, is 200 feet. So we can put that into the radio altitude. And we'll just double check our hydraulics. No, none of the electric lights are on. Hydraulic pressures are fine. So just brought the throttles back a bit too much. So we'll adjust things as we get closer to 10,000 feet. So we're well past London now, past Reading. We'll be at Bristol in no time, and then we'll be tracking down on the ILS. So we'll switch over our frequency actually to the ILS frequency. Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot it doesn't actually switch it over. You just got to switch the little nubbin to get over to the standby frequency. So the final setting for the flight director and the autopilot will be approach auto and then glide slope auto, and that will get us onto the ILS. Get the passenger signs on as we're getting close to 10,000 feet. And then get the landing lights on as well. No need for the runway turn-offs. Just get our latest weather for Bristol. Still 2908 knots, QNH is 1023. So getting close to 10,000 feet, we'll just make sure everything else. So the seatbelt signs are on, anti-ice isn't required, landing lights are on, altimeters will set when we get close to 6,000 feet. Radio altimeter is set, flight instruments are fine, hydraulic pressure is fine, pressure and cooling doors are set. We'll just make sure everything is... Yep, so cabin pressure is descending, lovely. So we'll get our landing speed bugs all set. Flaps 30 is fine for our landing. And 132 for our VREF. Fuel's in the red, but it's only because we're relatively light today, so that's fine. We'll have plenty of fuel by the time we get to Cardiff. So we passed 10,000 feet now. Everything is already set, so we'll go on that. Well, we'll switch over to the correct QNH, which is 1021 now. As we're approaching the transition altitude of 1,600 feet. Oh, sorry, it's 1023. I think I checked. And we're getting close to that cloud layer as well. 18 nautical miles to the first point on the ILS. We'll get rid of our descent calculator now, we don't need it anymore. Just slow down a little bit, we're going quite fast. Speeding. Oh. Yeah, no, this is X-Plane 11. I switched over, it's basically shortly after I did my last videos about 3 years ago. I switched over to X-Plane, so I don't really use it anymore. In fact, I've uninstalled FSX, and I don't even have B3D installed anymore. So what we'll do is we'll switch over to heading mode. And then go to auto glide slope. Course of 298. We'll go flaps 5. And there's the glide slope. Gear down. Flaps 15.
1,000.
Flaps 20. Flaps 25. And flaps 30. So no smokers on, spoilers are armed, auto brakes are armed, gear down 3 green. And flap set. So that annoying beep was just because we had the
Flight slow. Flight slow. Flight slow. Flight slow.
Oh, I think we'll have to go around.
Sink rate. Sink rate. 100.
That took me by surprise. I wasn't realised we were actually that close to Cardiff, and then we just broke through those clouds and it was there. We'll go around and then we'll try and
Minimums.
settle down a little bit better. So we'll go gear up. And then flaps 25. Flaps 20. 15, 5. And then we'll take a right turn. So we'll climb up to, let's have a look what the missed approach altitude is. 3,000 feet. We'll go IS hold. And heading select. We'll just slow down a little bit. And then we'll go backtrack. So we'll look at DME. We'll go about 10 nautical miles out, and then we'll come back in. And this time it will be a hell of a lot better. So we'll descend down to 1600 now. Go to vertical speed mode. Out select. And bring the throttles back. And then we'll start configuring ourselves again. Flaps 2. Auto brakes minimum, yep. You're gonna fly yourself. Have a good flight, Shark Tails. And we'll go flaps up. And then we'll reconfigure as we go back out again. Okay, so the ILS is back on again. So what we'll do is and the glide slates are active, so we'll take a right turn for an intercept course. We'll go approach auto, auto glide slope. So everything's armed. Slow down a little bit, we'll go to flaps 2. Just keep a much closer eye on our speed this time, because that was our downfall last time. We almost stalled on final approach. And we'll go flaps 5. And that. There we go. Oh no, it's starting to settle down the trim. There's the localizer. See the landing light, the PAPI lights ahead. We'll go flat 15. Glide slopes live. Guide gear down. Flaps 20. Flaps 25. And flaps 30. Good. Disengage the autopilot. That's looking nice and settled out. Just get that trim sorted out, so we're a little bit more nose up.
1,000.
Just starting to slow down. We're just a little bit off the localizer, so we'll just go left a little bit. There was a left to right wind, as I pointed out earlier on. Just to get the seat up a little bit. Approaching VREF now. A little bit low, but I prefer to be a little bit low than a little bit high.
Minimums. Light slow. Light slow. 100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Lovely. Versus full. There's one of those British Airways 747s to our left. Right, sorry. There's 80 knots, side or reverse. Take manual brake. And reverse is stowed. We'll take the next right. That was great. Enjoyed that. I mean, apart from the go around, which was entirely my fault, so I wasn't concentrating and kind of got a bit caught out. Start clearing up. So auto brake. Oh, I hate the click buttons on these. There we go. Flaps up. And we'll take this next right. Landing lights off, strobes off, auto brake disarmed, and we'll just run through the checklist. Window heats off as well. We'll do that once we've straightened up a little bit. So heats we can do. That's the window heats. Flaps are up, radar transponder. Oh, transponder's up here on the 77. Speed brakes down, galley power we can switch off. Flight ground switches to ground. We'll leave that. APU we can start in a second. Now they look nice and straight. So 1, 2, 3. Turn off the flight director mode. this is the British Airways service area that I was talking about. For those of you who live in the UK at the moment, there actually is a Channel 5 programme about British Airways and their 100th year anniversary, and they talk a little bit about that service area. There's also actually a video on YouTube about them servicing a 747 there, just kind of runs through the whole D check for a 747, which is quite interesting. Just slow down a little bit, we're going a bit speedy. So what we'll do is we'll park up, shut the aircraft down, we'll do a couple of replays, and then we'll wrap that up for today's stream. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you have been enjoying it, do hit that like button, it does help me a lot. And if you'd like to see more, do subscribe. Even better is to hit that little bell icon, and then I'll notify you when I'm streaming. Like me on Facebook if you want a bit of a heads up of when I will be streaming, because I do tend to post it about half an hour before I'm online. As we move in on this gate. Doesn't look like there's an auto gate system at Orbx's Cardiff. Just slow down a tad. Just move forward slightly, we're a little bit short. And that looks about right there. I don't know why, actually I've just realised, I don't know why I went to the passengers thing. We're flying a cargo plane today. Doesn't matter. We'll hit that parking, we'll put on the parking brake. And go over to the APU panel. Get the APU online, connect to the electrics, and put the essential power over to the APU. Open up the APU bleed. And then shut down the engines one by one. And get the fasten seatbelt signs off. And what we can do is we can get the ground power connected now. Ground power is available, so we'll switch over and switch the essential power over to the ground power. Get the APU offline now. And then just run through the checklist, make sure I haven't missed anything. What we can do actually is just turn off the beacon light and the taxi light. So seatbelt switches are off, beacons off, exterior lights is required, start levers are cut off, parking brakes set, and ground power is on. Hydraulic bead pumps we can just switch off. You can see them from all the way over here. Air conditioning 4 bleeds open, yep, which they are. Packs set to off. So you can see them. So they're these 2 buttons, and that's good. Lovely. Well, I've enjoyed that. Bit of a challenge with our missed approach. So we'll close this down and let's do a replay. So once again, thanks very much for watching. Do hit the like button, do subscribe if you're enjoying what you're seeing. Hit the little bell icon to get notified when I'm streaming, and otherwise I'll see you next time. Thanks very much for watching, guys.